It's an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you.
What does it take for you to channel one of the greatest laughs in the history of film?
It takes James Gunn going, laugh louder, laugh bigger. Can you do it bigger? Can you do it louder? That's what it is.
Pretty much. How does one patent to the mind that is the brilliance that is Drax and to not kind of lose your cool being so deadpan?
It's, well, a lot of editing. But it's really, I really can't take credit for it, man. It's kind of, James just wrote some really great stuff for Drax, which I think he really enjoys doing. And it's just kind of, it's one of those things where you just kind of bite your tongue, and try to say those crazy lines with a straight face. And sometimes you don't, you can't get through it. And every once in a while, another actor will get the giggles, and you're all giggling for 10 minutes, and you finally shake it and move on. Yeah.
Who had the giggles the most?
Zoe.
Of course.
Constantly, yeah. Zoe's always, if I'm doing a scene like where I have one of these lines, and I always, as soon as I see Zoe, I can see her biting her tongue, and I know, and as soon as I see her start to, and I'll say, stop laughing at me. She'll say, sorry. Sometimes she'll look away, but it's usually Zoe, yeah.
If you go back to the days of, in your wrestling days, what would you tell yourself if you're like, in about, so many years, you're going to be painting yourself green and being in a comic book movie?
I wouldn't believed it. Not for a second. And, it's not something I set out for. I didn't, it was an accident that I became, one of the stars in one of the biggest films ever made. It was a complete accident. I left to be an actor.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd make it to this level.
I was in the room when they actually announced that they were going to make this franchise. I don't think anybody was attached to it. I don't think they had a director yet. I remember there was kind of two responses to it. One, people gasped, like geeks like me that knew what it was.
Right.
And other people were like, a talking raccoon in a tree?
Right.
Why do you think people attach themselves to this franchise so well?
Because the characters are relatable. I think they're imperfect. They're not your typical superheroes. James Gunn always says it's not a superhero film; it's a space epic. Mm-hmm. And I think that that with these characters having a little bit jaded past, they're just they're imperfect. People can relate to them.
Sure,
they can care about them.
There's a friendly argument I've had with a friend for almost 10 years now. And anytime I get a chance to talk to a professional wrestler, I always want to get their opinion on it. There's two wrestlers that are no longer with us.
Right.
One is the Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
One's Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Who's taking it?
Roddy. Yeah, I love Roddy, man.
I've lost twice now.
Yeah, really? I was with Warren, now I go with Roddy, man.
I love them both.
yeah, I miss Roddy. That was really heartbreaking for me. I didn't know Warren that well. I met him actually literally right before he passed away, 2 days. But Roddy, I've driven up and down the road with Roddy, and I know him and I love him and I miss him terribly.
Both great guys.
Yeah.
Another one is if you could choose a song for the Awesome Mix Volume 3, what would you choose for you?
For me, I'd probably, I really am a huge fan of Motown. I love some of the Motown stuff that was in the first film, and I'd probably pick something. Temptations, Marvin Gaye, something along those lines.
Good ones.
Yeah.
And then last question, I think because he's a hero of mine as a child, Kurt Russell. If you had to choose one of your favorite Kurt Russell movies, what would it be?
Escape from New York.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a very good one.
You?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. It's always a toss-up.
John Carpenter. I mean,
yeah.